Yogurt guy. I'm going to go ahead and teach you how to make yogurt the homemade way. I'm going to teach you how to make it without having to buy your own special yogurt maker. I'm going to show you how to do it just with many of the tools you already have in your house. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to just show you briefly the tools that you're going to use first. So I've got these out already. First thing you need is I make my yogurt by the gallon. So I have a gallon sized pan. And this is you have to have a high quality pan. Stainless steel, copper bottom. The reason why you have a copper bottom is it spreads the heat more evenly. You avoid scalding of the milk. The other thing that I do is I have a couple of thermometers. I want to make sure that the thermometer, the heat in the milk, gets to the right temperature and that I don't miss it, that it doesn't go too high. So the temperature that I'm going to be setting it at, or that I want it to reach, is 180 degrees. And that kills all of the bacteria. Basically, I'm repasteurizing the milk to make sure to introduce new bacteria or cultures into it. So I have a thermometer that I stick in that basically tells me, goes off when it's 180 degrees. And then because I like to get a second opinion, whether I go to the doctor or whatever, I have a second thermometer, a candy thermometer that I stick in. It tends to give me what I believe to be a more accurate reading, so I use that as well. I have a second thermometer that I stick into the thermometer that I stick into the oven, and I use that to determine that the oven is the right temperature. And that's another thing that I use. Go ahead and zoom in on the oven. Instead of having a special yogurt maker, I just put it right into the oven, and I'll show you what I do with that when I get to that. The last tool that I have, that I use, is basically a clip-on light bulb, and I stick this in the oven. This is a 60-watt light bulb currently in it. I use the 60-watt light bulb during the summer when it's already warm outside, and there's not doing this heat exchange that cools down my oven too much, so I can get away with that. But because it's now fall and coming into winter, I want to change that to a 75-watt light bulb, and so I'm going to put a 75-watt light bulb into that for now, so that my objective is to make sure that the oven stays at between 110 and 115 degrees during the yogurt culture growth process. Okay, so now with that, we're ready to begin. Okay, so the other thing that we have is milk. Okay, I use vitamin D whole milk. I know a lot of people like to have their yogurt low fat. I like yogurt with flavor, and so I add yogurt, or I use milk that's whole vitamin D milk. I get this $1.98 at Walmart. It's nice and cheap, considering how much you would spend for a gallon of yogurt anywhere else. That's a pretty darn good price. Okay. So the next thing that I use is, of course, a yogurt culture. Now I make my own yogurt cultures. I have them. The difference between my yogurt starter and other yogurt starters is that they are filled with probiotics, and that's really one of the key reasons why we like to take yogurt. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, so that you understand the real benefits of making homemade yogurt. But anyway, so what I've done is I basically freeze my yogurt in ice cube trays. Each one of these is an ounce. I use an ounce, or a total of 4 ounces for each gallon of milk that I make. So make into yogurt. So I'm going to start first by doing the thing that is most critical. I want to heat up my oven. I want to get the oven the right temperature. Again, between 110 and 115 degrees. That's the temperature that gives your cultures the ideal temperature for it to grow. So I'm going to go ahead and grab 2 things over here. I've got my bulb. And by the way, this is just one of those, it's the kind that has that little aluminum flash pan around that focuses the light outwards. But I took that off, and so this just has the clip that allows me to clip onto one of the racks. Okay, and then the other thing that I use is this thermometer. Okay, this is an indoor-outdoor thermometer. The kind that you can kind of set it. I bought it because it allows me to be able to just kind of set it in the oven, and I can kind of peek in and look at the temperature. Zoom in on that so you can just see what that does. Okay. All right. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put this right here. I'm going to clip this. I clip this into the corner of my oven because what I don't want is for this to get too heated for my yogurt. Okay. And I just go ahead and push that back in. Okay. I plug that in, and we've got that already turned on. Then I just shut the oven up nice and tight, and that should allow my oven to get between those temperatures that I'm wanting, 110, 115. And we'll zero in. Before we put that in the oven, we'll look at the thermostat and see. Okay, now the next thing I do is I grab my pan. I'm going to go ahead and turn the heat on to medium. Medium is really my starting point. And I'm going to grab my 2 thermometers, and I'm going to grab my milk. Okay, and we'll go ahead and put the thermometer in here. Both thermometers. And then this one I have to power on, and I've already got it set to 180 degrees because that's the only thing that I use it for is for making yogurt. And then I go ahead and pour my gallon of milk in. Perfect. Now we'll come back in about an hour, or actually it usually only takes about 20 to 25 minutes for this to heat up to 180 degrees. When that goes off, we'll start again, and we'll talk about the next part of the process, and then we'll talk a little bit about why why yogurt, what the benefits are, why homemade yogurt, and why my culture is the best way to use my starter. So I'll see you in just a few minutes.